I gripped the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles had turned bone white, the contrast stark against the cracked, weathered leather. Outside, the snowstorm raged with unrelenting fury, thick, blinding sheets of white battering the windshield, transforming the world into a blur of motion, ice, and noise. I'd been driving for 8 hours. 8 punishing, endless hours of fighting the wheel and squinting through near-zero visibility, each mile carved from sheer will. And I did it for her, for Camille. It was her birthday weekend. She had gone up early with her friends to a secluded cabin buried in the woods, assuring me she just needed a little time to unwind. I had pictured her face so many times during that drive, imagined the exact moment I'd walk through the door, the way her eyes would widen in disbelief, how she'd gasp and break into that breathless laugh of hers. I saw it so clearly in my mind's eye, her launching into my arms, whispering "You're crazy," against my neck with a smile that could melt glaciers. On the passenger seat sat a box containing her favorite cake, dense chocolate layered with raspberry filling, a combination she once said reminded her of everything good: childhood, comfort, indulgence. The box had suffered some on the bumpy ride, its corners dented, but the cake was still whole. Still beautiful. It was more than enough. And this snowy, treacherous pilgrimage, was my version of a love letter. I'd never been the type for grand romantic gestures. Camille teased me about that often. But this was my effort. My offering. Love didn't always look like roses and poetry. Sometimes, it looked like a man driving 8 hours through a blizzard with numb hands and a trembling hope. The cabin finally emerged through the haze like a dream, nestled among tall pines, smoke drifting lazily from its chimney. It looked warm, safe, a soft glow in the heart of a storm. I parked the truck, grabbed the cake, and pushed my way through knee-deep snow. My jeans were soaked, my boots heavy with slush, but it didn't matter. I was here. I was about to see her. Even from outside I could hear the laughter spilling out, voices bright and carefree. And then, unmistakably, I heard hers. Light, musical. The kind of laugh that used to make me smile no matter what. I didn't knock. This was meant to be a surprise. I wanted the moment. I opened the door. Warmth hit me like a wave, thawing the outer layer of my frozen skin. I stepped inside, the cake still in my hands, snowflakes melting into its cardboard. I saw her on the couch. A glass of wine in one hand, her head tilted back in laughter. Around her were her friends, Blair, Lena, a few others I vaguely recognized. They lounged like they owned the place, drinks in hand, carefree and glowing. And then I heard her. "God, I hope he crashes," Camille said. She didn't laugh, not immediately. But the room did. They erupted in full-throated amusement, unapologetic, echoing off the wooden walls. Blair raised her glass as if making a toast to death itself. "At least then you get a few months of silence," she added. More laughter. Louder this time. Crueler. I stood there frozen. My boots leaking puddles onto the hardwood. The cake box, suddenly heavier than bricks, still clutched in my hands. I could have walked away. Closed the door, disappeared before they saw me. Pretended I never heard it. But I didn't. I couldn't. Something in me had snapped. I just stood there. Blair was the first to notice. Her smile faltered, lips parting into a soft, awkward, "Oh." Camille turned next. Her reaction wasn't shock. It wasn't joy. There was a flicker, surprise, maybe irritation, before she masked it with a flat, practiced smile. "You're here," she said, as if I'd merely interrupted a casual conversation. As if I hadn't driven through hell for her. I said nothing. What was there to say? I walked across the room, past the stunned silence, past the stares that now avoided my eyes. I set the cake box down gently on the kitchen counter. The sound it made, a soft, lifeless thud, felt like a tombstone landing. Then I turned, walked back out the door, and let it close behind me. The storm welcomed me again with cold, ruthless arms. The wind sliced through my clothes like knives. I didn't flinch. I trudged back to the truck, barely feeling my legs, my breath sharp and ragged in the frozen air. Something deep inside me burned, fury, heartbreak, disbelief. All of it at once. I climbed into the truck, slammed the door shut, and sat still. Through the windshield, the cabin glowed, warm, golden, full of laughter. As though nothing had happened. As though I hadn't just been gutted. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there and let the snow swallow the world around me. All that hope. All that love. All of it crushed beneath the weight of her voice, their laughter, that untouched cake. I started the engine. The roar of it broke through the silence like a scream. I pulled away without looking back. Later, when I spoke to Daniela, my therapist, I was numb. Operating on autopilot. I told her everything. The storm, the drive, the words I heard, the way Camille looked at me like I didn't belong. Daniela took it all in, her pen scratching softly against the notepad. "Do you want a divorce?" she asked, calm and steady. I hesitated. If you'd asked me yesterday, I would have said no. I stared down at my hands. Today? I don't know. I just want to understand what I'm dealing with. She gave a slow nod, her voice measured. "I'll refer you to someone who can help, a forensic accountant. His name's Leo. He's good." Leo's office was a chaos of papers and binders, shelves groaning under their weight, a coffee mug teetering dangerously on a leaning pile. He looked younger than I expected, quick eyes, friendly smile, and a firm handshake. "Let's see what we're working with," he said, gesturing to a chair. I handed over everything, bank access, login credentials, the whole messy picture. I'd already changed the passwords the night before, but I hadn't dared look. Not yet. Not until I had someone who could tell me the truth. Leo's fingers danced over the keyboard. He muttered to himself as he worked, occasionally raising an eyebrow or frowning. I watched him like he was defusing a bomb. Then he paused. "Interesting," he murmured. He leaned back, eyes fixed on the screen. "She's been busy." Camille had been quietly funneling money into a separate account for over a year. At first, the amounts were small, $1, $150 here, $100 there, easy to overlook. But after my spring bonus, the numbers jumped. $1,500. Then another $1,000 after we refinanced the house. Little by little, she'd been siphoning money, building something I wasn't part of. Leo tapped a few more keys and turned the screen toward me. "Roughly 20,000, he said. "Give or take. Every transfer traces back to her. She didn't even bother to hide it." Daniela leaned in, examining the financial trail. "This changes things," she said. "In a divorce, that's leverage." She tried to conceal separate property. "That's not just betrayal. That's legal exposure." I stared at the numbers, the sick realization clawing at my insides. While I was working myself to the bone, buying cakes, planning surprises, she was preparing for a life without me. I didn't say much. Just nodded. I wasn't ready to make a final decision. Not yet. But one thing was certain. I needed the truth. All of it. "No more illusions," I told Leo. "No more hope. Keep digging." Leo's smile returned, sharp and eager. "With pleasure," he said.